You know what's happening to you right now? That feeling of being completely worn out, that sense that you can't take another step, that exhaustion that seems to have settled into your very bones? That's not the end of your story. That's not you falling apart. That's actually the beginning of something magnificent. That tiredness you're carrying around isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're being prepared for something greater than you've ever experienced before. I want to talk to you today about something that most people completely misunderstand. We've been taught to fear exhaustion. We've been conditioned to see tiredness as weakness, to view our depletion as evidence that we're not strong enough, not capable enough, not worthy enough. But what if I told you that the exact opposite is true? What if the exhaustion you're feeling right now is actually sacred ground? What if it's the very place where transformation happens, where old versions of yourself fall away, and where something new and powerful is being born? Think about it for a moment. When have the greatest changes in your life occurred? Was it when everything was comfortable and easy? Was it when you were coasting along without any challenges? No. The real transformations happened when you were pushed to your limits. They happened when you thought you couldn't go on. They happened in those moments when you were so tired that your ego, that false self that tries to control everything, finally stepped aside and let something greater take over. That's what's happening to you right now. The universe, God, the divine intelligence that flows through everything. It's not punishing you with this exhaustion. It's actually doing something incredibly loving. It's breaking down the walls you've built around yourself. It's dismantling the false beliefs that have kept you small. It's clearing away all the debris of your old life so that something new can emerge. You see, we spend so much of our lives building up these identities. We create these ideas about who we are, what we can do, what we deserve, what's possible for us. And these identities, these beliefs, they become like armor. We think they're protecting us, but really they're imprisoning us. They keep us stuck in patterns that don't serve us. They prevent us from becoming who we're truly meant to be. And the only way to break through that armor? Exhaustion, complete and total depletion. Because when you're exhausted, when you're worn down to nothing, that armor falls away. You don't have the energy anymore to maintain all those false beliefs. You don't have the strength to keep pretending, to keep performing, to keep being someone you're not. And in that moment of surrender, in that moment when you finally let go, that's when the real magic happens. I want you to understand something fundamental about how growth works. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It doesn't happen when you're well rested and everything is going according to plan. Growth happens in the breakdown. It happens in the moments when you feel like you're falling apart. Because you're not falling apart. You're actually falling together in a new way. Think about a seed. A seed doesn't become a flower by staying comfortable in the soil. It has to break open. It has to crack apart. And I'm sure if that seed could feel anything, it would feel like it was being destroyed. It would feel exhausted from the effort of pushing through the soil. It would wonder if it's ever going to make it. But that breaking open, that exhaustion, that struggle, that's not the end. That's the beginning of the flower. You're that seed right now. And yes, it feels like you're breaking open. Yes, it feels exhausting. Yes, there are moments when you wonder if you're going to make it through. But I promise you, something beautiful is trying to emerge through you. Something that couldn't come through the old version of yourself. Something that requires this breaking open, this exhaustion, this surrender. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking. You might be saying, but I've been exhausted for so long. When does this transformation actually happen? When do I start to feel better? And that's a valid question. But here's what you need to understand. The transformation isn't something that happens after the exhaustion ends. The transformation is happening right now, in the middle of the exhaustion. Every moment that you're tired, every moment that you're struggling, every moment that you want to give up but you keep going anyway, that's when you're being rebuilt. The problem is that we want to rush through the hard parts. We want to skip from the breakdown to the breakthrough without going through the process. But that's not how it works. You can't microwave transformation. You can't hurry the process of becoming who you're meant to be. There's a timing to these things. There's a divine rhythm, and your job isn't to control it or speed it up. Your job is to trust it. Trust that what's happening to you is happening for you, not to you. Trust that this exhaustion has a purpose. Trust that you're being held, even when it doesn't feel like it. Trust that there's an intelligence at work here that's far greater than your conscious mind can comprehend. You know what most people do when they hit this point of exhaustion? They fight it, they resist it, they try to power through it with sheer willpower. They drink more coffee, they push harder, they ignore their body's signals, they override their intuition, and what happens? They get more exhausted, they get sick, they burn out completely. Because you cannot win a fight against the universe. You cannot overcome divine timing with human effort. The way through exhaustion isn't more effort, it's surrender, it's acceptance, it's saying, okay, I don't understand why I'm going through this, but I'm willing to go through it. I'm willing to be in this uncomfortable place. I'm willing to let the old version of me die so that something new can be born. And when you do that, when you stop fighting and start flowing, something shifts. The exhaustion doesn't necessarily disappear immediately, but your relationship to it changes. Instead of seeing it as your enemy, you start to see it as your teacher. Instead of resisting it, you start to learn from it. You start to ask better questions. Not, why is this happening to me, but what is this trying to teach me? What am I being prepared for? What old patterns am I being asked to release? Because here's the truth. You're not being exhausted randomly. The areas where you're most tired, those are the areas where you've been working the hardest to maintain control. Those are the areas where you've been trying to force outcomes instead of allowing them. Those are the areas where you've been living from your ego instead of your spirit. Maybe you're exhausted from trying to please everyone. Maybe you're worn out from pretending to be someone you're not. Maybe you're depleted from chasing goals that don't actually matter to you. Maybe you're tired from holding on to relationships that ended a long time ago. Maybe you're exhausted from carrying other people's expectations on your shoulders. Whatever it is, that exhaustion is your wake-up call. It's life tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, this isn't working anymore. This way of being, this way of living, it's not aligned with your truth. It's time for something different. And yes, it's scary to let go. It's terrifying to release control. It's uncomfortable to not know what comes next. But I want you to consider something. What's more scary? Staying exhausted for the rest of your life, living in a way that doesn't honor who you really are, or going through this temporary discomfort so that you can emerge as your authentic self? The choice is yours. But understand this. If you choose to keep fighting, if you choose to keep resisting, if you choose to keep trying to go back to the way things were, the exhaustion will continue. It will get worse because life will keep trying to get your attention until you finally listen. But if you choose to surrender, if you choose to trust, if you choose to let yourself be rebuilt, then this exhaustion will eventually transform into energy. Not the frantic, forced energy of the ego, but the sustainable, peaceful energy of alignment. The energy that comes when you're finally living in harmony with your true nature. The energy that flows when you stop swimming against the current and start moving with it. Now let me be clear about something. Surrendering doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean becoming passive or lazy. It doesn't mean lying in bed all day feeling sorry for yourself. Surrender is active. Surrender is powerful. Surrender is saying, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to rest when I need to rest. I'm going to say no to things that drain me. I'm going to create space in my life for the new to emerge. And I'm going to trust that as I do these things, I'm being guided towards something better. This is about honoring your exhaustion instead of ignoring it. It's about listening to your body instead of overriding it. It's about being gentle with yourself instead of harsh. It's about recognizing that you're not a machine that needs to keep producing. You're a human being who needs time to rest, to reflect, to integrate, to transform. And here's something beautiful that happens when you start to honor your exhaustion. You start to realize that you don't need to do nearly as much as you thought you did. So many of the things you've been exhausting yourself over, they weren't even that important. They were just things you thought you should do, things that other people expected, things that your ego convinced you were necessary. But when you're too tired to do all those things, when you're forced to prioritize, you start to see what actually matters. You start to see where your true responsibilities lie. You start to see what brings you genuine joy and what's just noise. And in that clarity, you find your path forward. The exhaustion is burning away everything that's not essential. It's like a forest fire that clears out the undergrowth so that new growth can happen. It feels destructive while it's happening, but it's actually deeply creative. It's making space. It's creating possibility. It's preparing the ground for something new. And what is that something new. It's you, the real you, not the you that you've been pretending to be, not the you that's been trying to meet everyone else's expectations, not the you that's been running on autopilot following scripts that were written by other people, but the authentic, genuine, true you that's been waiting underneath all of that to emerge. That version of you, it's powerful, it's creative, it's connected to something much larger than itself. It's aligned with the flow of the universe, and it doesn't get exhausted the way the false you does, because it's not fighting against life, it's moving with life. But to access that version of yourself, the old version has to get out of the way. And the old version doesn't usually leave voluntarily. It has to be worn down. It has to be exhausted. It has to reach a point where it finally says, okay, I give up. I can't do this anymore. And that's exactly where you are right now. You're at that breaking point. And it's not a bad place to be. It's actually the most sacred place you could be, because on the other side of this breaking point is your breakthrough. On the other side of this exhaustion is your energy. On the other side of this ending is your new beginning. But you have to be willing to stay in the uncertainty. You have to be willing to not know how it's all going to turn out. You have to be willing to trust that the same force that's breaking you down is also the force that's going to build you back up. And it will. Not in the image of who you used to be, but in the image of who you're meant to become. I want to share something with you that might shift your perspective. Every single person who has ever done something significant, who has ever made a real difference, who has ever lived a truly meaningful life, has gone through this process. They've all hit this wall of exhaustion. They've all had moments where they wanted to quit. They've all wondered if they were going to make it through. But the ones who did make it through, they didn't do it by being tougher than everyone else. They didn't do it by having more willpower or more discipline. They did it by surrendering. They did it by accepting where they were. They did it by trusting the process. They did it by saying yes to their transformation, even when it was uncomfortable. And here's the thing. You have that same capacity. You have that same strength. You have that same ability to trust and surrender and transform. It's not something special that only certain people have. It's your birthright. It's who you are at your core. You just have to remember it. The exhaustion is helping you remember. It's stripping away all the false layers. It's removing all the pretenses. It's getting you down to your essence, and your essence is pure potential. Your essence is creative power. Your essence is love. Your essence is connected to the source of all life. When you're operating from that essence, life becomes effortless. Not easy necessarily, but effortless. There's a flow to it. There's a grace to it. Things happen in ways you couldn't have planned. Doors open that you didn't even know existed. People show up with exactly what you need. Opportunities appear at just the right time. But you can't force that flow. You can't make it happen through sheer effort. You can only allow it. And you allow it by getting out of your own way, by letting go of control, by surrendering to what is instead of fighting for what you think should be. Your exhaustion is showing you where you've been fighting. It's showing you where you've been forcing. It's showing you where you've been trying to control outcomes instead of trusting the process. And now it's time to stop fighting. It's time to stop forcing. It's time to stop controlling. It's time to rest. And I don't just mean physical rest, although that's important too. I mean spiritual rest, mental rest, emotional rest, rest from the constant doing and striving and achieving, rest from the endless need to prove yourself, rest from the belief that your worth is based on your productivity. You are worthy simply because you exist. You don't have to earn your place in this world. You don't have to justify your existence through accomplishments. You're not here to be a productivity machine. You're here to be yourself. You're here to experience life. You're here to grow and learn and love and contribute in your own unique way. So instead of cursing your tiredness, what if you blessed it? What if you thanked it for showing you what needs to change? What if you honored it as the sacred teacher that it is? What if you saw it not as your enemy, but as your guide, leading you toward a better way of being? That shift in perspective changes everything. When you stop resisting your exhaustion and start accepting it, when you stop fighting against it and start learning from it, when you stop seeing it as a problem and start seeing it as a solution, then you move into alignment with what's actually happening. You move into flow. You move into grace. And from that place of acceptance, healing begins. Transformation accelerates. New possibilities open up because you're no longer blocking the process with your resistance. You're allowing it. You're cooperating with it. You're saying yes to your own evolution. This is what it means to be rebuilt. It's not that someone else comes in and fixes you. It's that you allow yourself to be transformed from the inside out. You allow the old patterns to fall away. You allow the false beliefs to dissolve. You allow your true self to emerge, and your true self is magnificent. It's powerful beyond measure. It's creative beyond imagination. It's loving beyond boundaries. It's wise beyond your years. It's everything you've ever wanted to be, and it's been inside you all along, just waiting for you to clear away the obstacles so it could come forth. The exhaustion is clearing those obstacles. Every day that you're tired, every moment that you're struggling, every time that you want to give up but you keep going anyway, you're clearing away more debris. You're making more space. You're preparing more ground for your true self to take root and grow. So be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle with yourself. You're going through something significant. You're being transformed at the deepest levels. That's not something that happens quickly or easily. It takes time. It takes energy. It takes surrender. And yes, it's hard. I'm not going to tell you it's not hard. It is hard. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever go through, but it's also one of the most rewarding, because on the other side of this hardship is a version of yourself that you'll be proud to be, a version that's authentic and aligned and alive in ways you've never experienced before. Think about what your life could look like when you're no longer exhausting yourself trying to be someone you're not. Think about how much energy you'll have when you're no longer fighting against your own nature. Think about how peaceful you'll feel when you're finally living in alignment with your truth. That's what's waiting for you. That's what you're being rebuilt into. That's the promise of this exhaustion. Not that you'll go back to how things were, but that you'll move forward into something better, something truer, something more aligned with who you really are and what you're really here to do. And here's the most beautiful part. Once you go through this process, once you allow yourself to be broken down and rebuilt, you become a light for others who are going through the same thing. You become living proof that exhaustion isn't the end. You become evidence that transformation is possible. You become a guide for others who are lost in the darkness of their own breaking point. That's the gift in all of this. Not just what you gain personally, but what you become able to give to others. Your struggle becomes your strength. Your exhaustion becomes your expertise. Your breakdown becomes your breakthrough, not just for you, but for everyone whose life you touch. So when you're in the middle of the exhaustion, when you can't see any light at the end of the tunnel, when you wonder if you're ever going to feel normal again, remember this: you're not alone. You're being held by a force much greater than yourself. You're being guided by an intelligence that knows exactly what you need. You're being rebuilt into something more beautiful than you can currently see. Trust the process. Trust your exhaustion. Trust that every moment of struggle is actually a moment of growth. Trust that you're exactly where you need to be. Trust that this is all working out for your highest good, even when it doesn't feel like it. And most importantly, trust yourself. Trust that you have the strength to get through this. Trust that you have the wisdom to know what you need. Trust that you have the courage to let go of what's no longer serving you and step into what's calling you forward. You do have that strength. You do have that wisdom. You do have that courage. It's all inside you right now. The exhaustion hasn't taken it away. It's actually revealing it, because when everything else falls away, when you're too tired to pretend or perform or protect yourself, what's left is your true essence. And that essence is strong. That essence is wise. That essence is courageous beyond measure. So let yourself be tired. Let yourself be exhausted. Let yourself be in this uncomfortable place of transformation, because it's not going to last forever. Nothing does. But while you're in it, while you're being rebuilt, honor the process. Respect the journey. Trust the timing. And know this with absolute certainty: you are not being destroyed. You are being transformed. You are not falling apart. You are falling together in a new way. You are not ending. You are beginning. The exhaustion you feel is not the end of your story. It's the very place where your new story is being written. God is rebuilding you. The universe is recreating you. Life is reshaping you. And when the rebuilding is complete, when you emerge from this cocoon of exhaustion, you will fly in ways you never thought possible. You will soar to heights you never imagined. You will live with a freedom and joy and purpose that makes every moment of the struggle worthwhile. So hold on, keep going, trust the process. Your breakthrough is coming. Your energy is returning. Your new life is forming right now, in this very moment, in this sacred place of exhaustion where God is rebuilding you into everything you were always meant to be. The exhaustion you feel is not a curse. It is a blessing. It is not a punishment. It is a preparation. It is not the end. It is the beginning, and the best is yet to come. You're sitting there right now thinking that change takes time. You're believing that transformation is a slow process. You've been told your whole life that if you want to shift your circumstances, if you want to create a different reality, you need to be patient, you need to wait, you need to work hard for years and years. And I'm here to tell you that this is one of the biggest lies you've ever been sold. You don't understand how fast God can move in your life. You don't understand that the universe, the source, the infinite intelligence that created everything you see and everything you don't see operates outside of time. This force that breathes life into you every single morning, that beats your heart without you even thinking about it, that heals your cuts and bruises while you sleep, this same force can transform your entire existence in a single moment. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. But here's what happens. We get stuck in our own thinking. We limit the infinite with our finite minds. We say things like, well, it's going to take me 10 years to get out of debt, or I'll never find love at my age, or I'm too old to start that business, or change is hard and slow. And every time you speak these words, every time you think these thoughts, you're creating that reality. You're telling the universe, this is what I believe, so this is what I want to experience. Let me tell you something that might shake up everything you think you know. The universe doesn't operate on your timeline. God doesn't wear a watch. The source energy that creates worlds doesn't look at a calendar and say, oh, this person needs to suffer for 5 more years before I help them out. That's not how it works. That's never been how it works. The only thing that determines how fast your life changes is your willingness to let go of the story you've been telling yourself about how long it should take. Think about this for a moment. You've had experiences in your life where everything changed in an instant, haven't you? Maybe you met someone and in that single conversation, your whole perspective shifted. Maybe you read something, heard something, saw something that completely altered the way you viewed yourself and your possibilities. Maybe you had a moment of clarity where suddenly, after years of struggle, everything just made sense. These moments prove to you that rapid transformation is not only possible, it's natural. But then what do? We dismiss these moments as luck, as coincidence, as rare occurrences. We go right back to our old programming that says real change takes time. And so we continue to create that experience for ourselves. We continue to live in the slow lane when the fast lane has been available to us all along. Now, I'm not talking about some magical thinking here where you just wish for something and it appears. That's not what this is about. What I'm talking about is understanding that when you align yourself with source energy, when you shift your consciousness, when you change your inner world, your outer world has no choice but to reflect that change. And this reflection can happen instantaneously. You see, everything in your life right now is a result of your consciousness, your relationships, your bank account, your health, your happiness. All of it is a mirror of what's going on inside you. And the beautiful thing about a mirror is that when you change what's in front of it, the reflection changes immediately. It doesn't take time for the mirror to update. It doesn't need to process the information. It just reflects the new reality instantly. This is how your life works. You are living in a universe that is completely responsive to your inner state. But most people have it backwards. They think they need to change their outer circumstances first, and then they'll feel better inside. They say, well, when I get the money, then I'll feel abundant. When I meet the right person,